6 people walked into a house in the Welsh valleys for an after-party. The next morning, only 5 walked out alive. One woman was found dead on the sofa with her throat cut. One man was covered in blood. Another man had fresh scratches on his arms and had vanished before the police arrived. It sounds like an open and shut case, right? You arrest the guy covered in blood. But here is where it gets terrifying. The man covered in blood was innocent, and the man who owned the house didn't call 999 immediately. Instead, he made an 8-minute phone call to a police chief friend. And when investigators finally arrived, the CCTV cameras that pointed directly at the murder scene, they had been ripped out of the wall. This wasn't just a murder. This was a cover-up. If you want to know who really killed Amber and how a powerful family tried to bury the truth, hit that subscribe button right now. We are going to expose the secrets the valleys tried to hide. For 8 months, the police did nothing. They told the family she died of natural causes. But we have the autopsy report. We have the timeline, and we have the DNA evidence found under her fingernails. It didn't belong to the man covered in blood. It belonged to someone hiding in plain sight. This is the story of a 38-year-old woman who thought she was going for a drink with friends, but ended up in a house of horrors. And the most chilling part? The killer is still claiming he's the victim. Let's look at the evidence.
The vanishing in the valleys. If you've never heard of Amber Spradlin's case, you're likely not from the valleys of South Wales. In the quiet, tight-knit communities nestled among the hills, this case is the only topic of conversation in the pubs and corner shops. For over a year, this could have been considered a classic whodunit. 6 people entered a sprawling, detached house in the village of Martin's Cross. One ended up dead. One was covered in blood and failed a lie detector test. One had mysterious scratches on his arms and left the house right around the time the murder is thought to have happened. 2 others have remained conspicuously silent, refusing to speak to the police at all. And at least one is talking, but claims that when she went to bed that night, everyone was absolutely fine. To make matters worse, a CCTV camera that was pointed directly at where the crime took place and should have made this an open and shut case is missing, vanished into thin air. But some locals never considered this a mystery. They believe the person the police arrested, the one about to stand trial at Cardiff Crown Court any day now, committed the brutal murder he's charged with. A young woman already dealt one of the toughest hands in life, had her throat slit, and was left dead on a sofa until morning. But questions still hang heavy over the valley like the morning mist. Why? 38-year-old Amber Spradlin hardly knew these people. Why would someone attack her so viciously? And why would a local police inspector, unconnected to the investigation, allegedly tell Amber's family that she wasn't murdered at all, but had simply choked? Something in this quiet corner of Wales stinks. And based on what we've found, this might just be scratching the surface of what's been happening there. With the trial looming, we're trying to make sense of what happened to Amber Spradlin that fateful night in June 2023. Amber had a difficult start in life. Her mother and sister died when she was young, and she was barely into her 20s when she lost her father. As you can imagine, that trauma left deep scars, resulting in severe anxiety and depression. But the family she had left, her grandparents, her Aunt Missy, her cousin Debbie, had taken Amber under their wings. She lived with her grandparents until they too passed away. By 2023, at 38, Amber felt it was time to step out and spread her own wings. She got a small flat and a part-time job as a hostess at the Brickworks, a popular gastropub in the nearby town of Pontypridd. Aunt Missy, protective as ever, had CCTV installed at Amber's new place to ensure her safety. Amber was a creature of habit, keeping a strict routine. She called Missy every morning at 9 a.m. without fail. So when Amber didn't call on Sunday, June 18th, a cold dread washed over Missy immediately. Checking the footage, Missy saw Amber leaving for work on Saturday evening, but scrolling through the night, past the time Amber should have returned, and into the daylight hours, Amber never reappeared. Missy called Debbie immediately. Debbie was away for the weekend in the Brecon Beacons with her fiancé Brandon, but sprang into action. Brandon's brother was a detective constable with South Wales Police. He called him, hoping for reassurance. Instead, 10 minutes later, he called back with news that shattered their world. Amber wasn't missing. She had been murdered. As the family raced back to Pontypridd, desperate for answers, they reached out to a retired police friend for help. He made a few calls and came back with a story that made no sense. A senior police officer was claiming Amber hadn't been murdered at all, but had died in a freak accident. Why were the police telling two different stories?
A scene of confusion. Desperate for clarity, the family was spinning in circles. Brandon's brother, the detective, had said murder, but this retired officer was reporting that Inspector Randy Woods, a local police chief not even assigned to the case, was insisting Amber had aspirated, choked to death. He even told the family to calm down. Calm down? They had just been told their beloved Amber was dead, and now they were receiving conflicting reports about how it happened. Why was a police inspector from a different department getting involved? And why was he contradicting the murder investigation? In these close-knit Welsh valleys, policing can be incestuous. Officers know everyone. Jurisdictions overlap. South Wales Police handles major crimes, but local stations have their own hierarchies. Inspector Wood's intervention was suspicious. Was he trying to manage the narrative before the truth came out? It took until the early hours of Monday morning for a detective from the Major Crimes Unit to finally call Missy and confirm the worst. Amber had indeed been murdered. Her body was with the Home Office pathologist. The accident theory was a lie. But while the family was being kept in the dark, the police had been working the case since 10:30 a.m. that Sunday. It started with a 999 call from a large detached house in Martin's Cross, owned by Dr. Michael McKinney, a wealthy local dentist and owner of The Brickworks gastropub, where Amber worked. The call transcript is chilling. 999, what is your emergency? My name is Michael McKinney. I'm at 4 Oak Lane. There's a girl on my sofa. She's dead. Do you know who she is? I know it's Amber Spradlin. Do you think it's drugs? No, mate. It looks like someone's come in and murdered her. Her throat's slit. There's blood everywhere. A girl on my sofa. The detachment was cold. McKinney claimed not to know her well, despite employing her. When paramedics arrived, they found Amber upright on the sofa, head slumped, covered in blood. It was immediately obvious this was no accident. She had been stabbed repeatedly. The police arrived to find 4 men and 1 woman in the house. One of the men, 51-year-old Roy Kidd, was covered in blood. Roy told a chaotic story. He claimed he'd met Amber years ago and bumped into her occasionally. That Saturday, she'd convinced him to go out. They ended up at Seasons, a bar owned by Michael McKinney's brother. The lock-in lasted until 4 a.m. when Michael invited a small group back to his house in Martin's Cross for an after-party. The group included Michael, his 23-year-old son Michael Jr., known as MK, a tenant named Josh, and Josh's girlfriend Lauren. Roy claimed they drank in the basement bar until he couldn't stand. He stumbled upstairs to a spare room around 6:30 a.m., leaving everyone else downstairs. He woke up hours later, hungover and disoriented, covered in his own mess. Wandering into the living room to find his phone, he saw the back of Amber's head. He called her name. No answer. When he walked around the sofa, he saw the blood. He ran to wake Michael, who allegedly came out, glanced at the body, and called 999. But Roy's story had holes. He claimed the blood on his clothes was his own from falling over while drunk. He claimed he didn't see any wounds on Amber, just blood, thinking she'd had an aneurysm. Yet Michael McKinney told the operator her throat was slit. How did Michael know that from a distance if Roy, who shook her, didn't? And why was Roy the only one covered in blood? Police were suspicious of Roy, especially when he failed a polygraph test on questions about stabbing Amber. But then they discovered another 999 call had been made from the house that morning, hours before Amber was reported dead. And the person who made that call wasn't Michael or Roy. The investigation took a strange turn when police uncovered a 999 call made at 5:55 a.m. by MK, Michael's son. He asked for the police to remove a family friend who was drunk and disorderly. He described the friend, presumably Roy, as bleeding profusely. But before police could be dispatched, Michael McKinney got on the line and canceled the request, saying he had it under control. This call changed the timeline completely. If MK called at 5:55 a.m. and Roy went to bed shortly after, was Amber already dead? Lauren, Josh's girlfriend, told police she and Josh went to bed at 7 a.m. and Amber was still alive in the living room. If that's true, the window for the murder narrows drastically. MK's blue pickup truck was seen on CCTV, leaving the area at 8:30 a.m. By 10:30 a.m., Michael was calling to say Amber was dead and the blood was dry. The autopsy revealed the brutality of the attack. Amber had been stabbed 12 times in the face, neck, and torso. The force used was so great that the blade of the knife had snapped off and was lodged in her neck. The handle was missing. Police found a knife shoved into the sofa, but prosecutors believe it was planted. The actual murder weapon's handle was gone. And it wasn't the only thing missing. The McKinney house had an extensive CCTV system. One camera pointed directly at the sofa where Amber died. Another covered the basement bar. It should have captured the entire murder. But when police arrived, the cameras, the digital recorder, and the hard drives were gone, ripped out. The police were looking at a potential cover-up. Michael McKinney lied to Roy, saying MK had left the night before, when CCTV showed him leaving the next morning. Roy was covered in blood, but tests later confirmed it was indeed his own, consistent with his story of falling while drunk. The DNA under Amber's fingernails, evidence of her desperate fight for life, didn't match Roy. It didn't match Josh. It matched the McKinney male lineage. The YSTR testing identified the DNA as belonging to a male of the McKinney line. It could be Michael, or it could be MK. But circumstantial evidence began to pile up against MK. When he finally appeared at the police station 3 days later, he had fresh scratches on his arms, claw marks running from his elbows to his wrists. He refused to explain them. He also had a history of violent outbursts. Witnesses claimed he had once pulled a knife on guests at a party, threatening to kill them. Yet, despite this, the investigation dragged on. The backlog at the forensic labs meant months of waiting. In the meantime, the community in the valleys grew restless. Rumors of corruption and a two-tier justice system spread. Michael McKinney was a wealthy man with police friends. Was he being protected? The family organized protests outside the brickworks. They put up billboards demanding justice for Amber. They refused to let the case fade into the gray Welsh rain. As the months passed without an arrest, the family's fear of a cover-up grew. Then they learned about Chief Inspector Wood's resignation just days after the murder. Was it a coincidence, or was he involved in something darker? And why did Michael McKinney call him for 8 minutes before calling 911? The charges and the conspiracy. It took 8 long months for the lab results to return and for the Crown Prosecution Service to authorize charges. The DNA under Amber's fingernails definitively cleared Roy and Josh. It pointed squarely at the McKinneys. Combined with the scratches, the timeline, and his history, police arrested Michael McKinney III, MK, and charged him with murder and 8 counts of perverting the course of justice. His father, Michael McKinney, and the tenant, Josh, were also arrested and charged with perverting the course of justice, tampering with evidence. The indictment alleged that MK killed Amber and then, with the help of his father and Josh, removed, concealed, or destroyed crucial evidence. The knife handle, MK's bloodied clothing, and the entire CCTV system.
They were also accused of cleaning up Amber's blood from the kitchen and laundry room sinks. This painted a horrific picture. While Roy lay in a drunken stupor upstairs, the McKinney men were allegedly scrubbing away the evidence of a brutal murder, ripping out cameras and disposing of weapons. The 8-minute call Michael made to Inspector Woods before calling 999 now looked even more sinister. Was he asking for advice on how to stage the scene? Woods claimed he simply told Michael to call 999. Does it take 8 minutes to say, "Call the police"? Or was he guiding his friend on how to buy time? Woods resigned, citing stress from a previous incident. But the timing, 5 days after the murder, reeked of scandal. Amber's family filed a civil lawsuit against the police, Woods, and the McKinneys, alleging a conspiracy to obstruct justice. They claimed the switch in emergency services from the regional police to a cheaper local provider contributed to the chaos, leaving the county vulnerable and the response times slow. MK's defense team came out swinging. They pointed to Roy's failed polygraph, though inadmissible in court, and his proximity to the body. They argued the DNA evidence was weak and circumstantial. They claimed the CCTV had been removed weeks prior for repairs, a convenient coincidence. But the prosecution's case rested on the timeline. MK was the only one unaccounted for during the murder window. He had injuries consistent with a struggle, and his family went to extraordinary lengths to clean the crime scene before calling for help. As the trial date approached, Michael McKinney lashed out, accusing Amber's family of a paid social media campaign to taint the jury pool. He claimed Roy was the real killer, and that the police had been pressured by public outrage to charge his son. The community, however, wasn't buying it. They had seen too many cases in the valleys swept under the rug. Women missing, deaths ruled suicides under suspicious circumstances. Amber's case was becoming a lightning rod for all the unresolved grief and anger in the region. With the trial delayed due to further forensic testing, the tension in the town is at a breaking point. The family is preparing to face the McKinneys in court, but new information is surfacing about other suspicious deaths in the area. Is Amber's murder the key to unlocking a closet full of skeletons in this quiet Welsh county? A fight for justice. The delay in the trial was a blow, but it gave Amber's family more time to rally support. They launched a campaign for Amber's Law, aiming to increase funding for forensic services in Wales to prevent other families from enduring the agonizing wait they suffered. The backlog that delayed justice for Amber is a systemic failure that affects victims across the country. Amber's cousin, Debbie, has become a fierce advocate. She realized that Amber's story was not isolated. Through the Justice for Amber Facebook group, she began receiving messages from other families in the valleys. Stories of daughters found dead with minimal investigation, of domestic violence ignored by local police because the perpetrator had connections. The tragic deaths of women like Kristen Smith and Candy Green Gonzalez, ruled suicides or disappearances with little follow-up, are now being re-examined by the community, if not the police. The trial, now rescheduled, promises to be a watershed moment for the region. It will be streamed live, allowing the public to see the evidence firsthand. The prosecution will lay out the timeline of that bloody night. The drinking, the alleged psychotic break of MK, the frantic cover-up by a father protecting his son, and the cold-blooded decision to leave Amber dead on a sofa while they cleaned up. Michael McKinney and Josh remain out on bail, living their lives, while MK sits on remand. The disparity eats at the family. But their resolve is made of steel. They are fighting not just for a conviction, but for the truth. They want to know exactly what happened in those lost hours. They want to know what happened to the CCTV. They want to know why a police inspector inserted himself into the case. Amber Spradlin's life was marked by tragedy. Losing her parents young and battling her own demons, she was finally finding her feet,
building a life of independence when it was stolen from her. Her death has pulled back the curtain on the potential corruption and old boys network that can plague small, isolated communities. Moral of the story: justice is not a passive gift, it is an active fight. In tight-knit communities where power and influence can shield the guilty, the voice of the ordinary person is the most powerful weapon. Amber's story teaches us that silence is the enemy of justice. When systems fail and officials look the other way, it is the community's refusal to be quiet, their refusal to settle down, that forces the truth into the light. We must be vigilant, we must support one another, and we must never let the powerful dictate the narrative of the vulnerable. Amber Spradlin may be gone, but her voice, amplified by those who loved her, is now roaring through the valleys, demanding change.